Hey, what's up, everyone? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. We have the midweek edition of the Pocket Change Market Report for September 4th, 2025. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we're going to go into the last 24 to 36 hours of recent realized eBay sold activity to help showcase and highlight some of the errors, varieties, and special dates of coins that you guys have been finding out there. Whether you're an avid roll hunter, change kind of go-througher, that's not a word, or if you like cherry picking the local shops and coin shows, that's another way to obtain some of these coins that we're about to see here today. And the name of the game, reselling, man. If you're finding these cheap, or at face value, you know, this is a way where you can make some of that extra money. And as we kind of head into the holidays here, it's very important to know that the market is really quite robust, and newer discoveries and finds are just around the corner. 2026 coming up here in a few months. A big 250th anniversary of our country is going to highlight some pretty big releases by the Mint, both in circulation and on their website as collectible coins. That's something to be on the lookout for. So we are counting down the days here before 2026 finally flips to that calendar. And, I just want to let you guys know that we talk about exclusively raw coins, nothing graded. Just further kind of letting you guys know that you don't need to grade any of this stuff. Just take good pictures, send them on their way on eBay, and reap the rewards of your work. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We're going to jump into this here in a moment. Quick little shout out to channel sponsor Whatnot. Man, I'm so happy to be collaborated with the biggest live social media auction platform today. They have allowed me to, really become a small-time dealer, selling a lot of great type coins, errors, varieties, currency, bullion, you name it. We just run a whole gamut of different things. And we also have some great giveaways each and every single week. We have been doing goldbacks. So goldbacks have been the flavor for the month of September. You're going to see more of that. It's free gold, guys. Come on. Come join in on the fun. You could use the QR code to scan in, join today. Or you could use the links that I have posted below in the description box or pinned in the comment section of this video. Sign up under me today. You get $15 off your first item, and that's huge. That's $15 off maybe a Silver Eagle. Price of silver has been jumping up lately. We're over $40 an ounce. $15 off that one particular coin that you want to give as a gift, or a coin that you want to add to your collection. There is a lot of ways that you could use this $15 off. So thank you guys again for tuning in. We had a great show last night where my wife was able to, showcase some of her coins for sale, and everybody had fun. All right. Plus, we also had some pretty nice giveaways. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the list here. We got a couple dozen coins that popped off here in the last day or two. That's worth mentioning. This one right here, 1983p Jefferson nickel, a nice off-center strike out of collar. This thing is unbelievable. It's in really nice shape too, and as you can tell, not that it's a huge deal, but this one has some pretty nice, well-struck steps, which for early 80s is quite tough. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, Sean, this is something that we just don't see coming out of a bankroll. So why do you keep talking about off-center strikes and broad strikes and things like that? First of all, they're genuine mint errors. Okay, number two, your best way of obtaining and acquiring these coins is gonna be through the dealers and the shows and private party sales. So if you really are trying to utilize eBay as your own personal business to really go out there, make money, make it happen, you're going to utilize all the different ways that you could acquire some of these coins, by hook or by crook. Not everything comes out of bankrolls. You're going to end up spending a lot of time hunting through rolls, and maybe you may not find something. So with that being said, going to the coin show and finding dealers that don't particularly care about mint errors, they're going to price these things down enough to where you could turn around and make a pretty good profit. Like myself, I picked these up for around 10, 15, 20 bucks, realized the true potential here. This particular one, by the way, is selling for $50. So, that's a pretty good sale. Really tough date, very well struck, BU coin. Very nice to see one of these on here. The next one that we have here, and you're going to notice by the red background, this is a marquee look of one of the sellers on eBay that goes by the name of Cayman Coins. And boy, he has quite the inventory of mint errors and die varieties, and we're going to run off some here. We just kind of caught lightning in a bottle when a lot of his listings ended last night. So we have this 2000p Virginia statehood quarter. Now, at first glance, when you look at the reverse, you're like, okay, this thing is off-center struck, by about, 7-8%. Okay, no big deal, all right, because we've seen other Virginia quarters do that. However, when you look at the obverse, guess what? You have a full rim, all right? This thing is centered on the obverse side, but off-center on the reverse. So this is not an off-center struck coin outside of the collar. However, this is what they call a misaligned die strike. So that reverse die has a little shake and play to it, all right? It's not completely seated properly, so that way when it strikes up coins, there's going to be some sort of play there, allowing for, some sort of off-center kind of like strike on one side, while the other side is going to be centered. And with that being said, there's not going to be any pressure to the area that looks and appears off center on the reverse of this coin. And that's why you have some of that weakness on the front. Right under $quarter is right the exact area where that unstruck portion of the reverse is sitting. All right. So as long as there's no pressure there, it's not going to strike up the coin properly, as you would imagine. So misaligned dies, while some would say not as popular as an off-center or a Broadstrike, these things, will have its time of day. This one actually did really well for what it was. This one's selling for $54.90 with 18 bits. Make sure you know what a misaligned dies strike is. These things are quite neat, and the more misaligned the one side is, like this one here, the more that they're worth. The next one that we have here, okay, you guessed it, another misaligned dies coin. This time on 1985p Jefferson nickel. Now this one, based off of the look of the coin, has been around the block a few times. Okay, it's cohabitated with other coins in someone's pocket. It's been thrown into a cash register unceremoniously, so it's got a lot of contact marks on here. However, it needs some love, and love did it get here this week. This one right here ended up selling for $14.50 with a total of 8 bids on this one. Again, Cayman Coins really coming through with some neat stuff that typically we just don't see sell on eBay on a regular basis. Another neat one here by Cayman, 1962 Jefferson nickel. Okay, this one struck on a very defective planchet. They call this a ragged clip. All right, so this is like an endish strip planchet that has a really rough edge. As you can see here, it even has what looks to be kind of like a fissure that might create if the thing was a little bit more far gone. But yeah, this is a really cool representative example of a ragged clip coin. This one ended up selling for $17.40 with 8 bids total. So again, a lot of these pieces that we have seen up to this point having quite a fair amount of bidding activity, and a lot of people who collect into mint errors, they're very aware of Cayman Coins. And if you guys were looking to model after a specific seller, you would probably not go wrong following the business model of Cayman Coins. They don't sell like consistently, like every day or something like that. But when Cayman does sell, he just puts up just tremendous volumes of coins, and they all run 5 to 7 days, as a regular auction. And that's kind of like the secret sauce here to his success. You know, he uses the red background. That's very noticeable to a lot of his repeat clients. And that's something that you guys should probably do. Like the same way that I sell on eBay, I use kind of like, I have a wood table as my background, and that's highly identifiable for a lot of people that are looking for my listings on eBay. Okay, so this thing, man, is insane. Now, it doesn't look insane to you, maybe because you don't know what it is. This is a rather rough-looking Jefferson nickel, and for those of you that know, you just know. This thing looks fake as heck. Like, you know, even a coin that should wear down to this level, you know, shouldn't look all pebbly and rough-looking, you know, as if it were struck with rusted dies, which, by the way, some of them were. This is actually a counterfeit nickel, highly controversial. These were produced by a gentleman in the name of Henning. And, for whatever reason, he ended up counterfeiting nickels. You know, probably because it was going to be one of those coins that not a lot of people were going to, like, take a second look at. You know, because it's a low enough denomination. He could produce, like, a whole bunch of them. And, you know, do whatever counterfeiters have to do to wash these out into society, so that way he could get his money back in the form of real dollars. So these were struck just off of old used dies. A lot of them were rusty, from what I do understand. And what he did add on here was his hallmark, his signature. Because counterfeiters, you know, they kind of like to gloat about their craft, right? So in this particular case, he added a loop to the letter R on pluribus. Now, there was a number of years that he had done counterfeit nickels, and there were a few years where he did not use the looped R in pluribus like he did on this one. So those are going to be a little bit tougher to identify, but, you know, again, when you're comparing, you just know. This thing is quite crazy. This is the first year that I believe he did counterfeit nickels, and it's one of the more trial and error kind of rough looking pieces that he produced and sent out into circulation. So if you did come across one of these, keep in mind, even though it's counterfeit, highly controversial, these have a tremendous collector base today, but not nearly enough supply to go around. And because of that, prices have shot up into the stratosphere. Now, this is what was considered one of the more tougher dates of Henning nickels to look for. It's not perfect. It's got a few scratches on there. There are other dates that you want to look out for as well for this. And, you know, if we went back 10 years, these were coins that you could have very easily bought for $100 or less. The times have changed. This one, ladies and gentlemen, sold for $780. 6 total bids. And by the way, if you're looking to buy a Henning nickel on eBay today, and if you're able to find one at all on eBay, best of luck, because these coins, like the more common dates, have been selling right around $400 to $500, and they exceed $1,000 for some of those tougher dates. Like 1947 or 49 or one of those dates in the late 40s that are quite rare. You know, and then of course the jig is up. You know, Henning got popped, you know, for his counterfeiting ways. He ended up serving some time, I believe, and you know, even though he tried going back to the well, you know, it all fizzled out, and he just eventually stopped doing it. But yeah, these have a story all on its own. A very interesting coin, believe it or not, and you know, collectors, they're scooping these up. There are a number of collectors of these that are just constantly looking for them. So there is some pretty stiff competition out there. If you got one of these, please do understand that you have a major amount of cash on your hands. And by the way, the graders will not grade these. So just to let you guys know. As far as I know, I don't think Annex grades these as well, because they are counterfeits. All right, that was quite a long little history lesson into the Henning nickels. Now we got to get back to the regularly scheduled program here. 1960s Denver. Lincoln Memorial cent. This one was struck through a late stage capped die. So there was actually a coin stuck to the obverse die, striking up a whole bunch of other coins. As you can imagine, you're going to have a really nice strong strike on the other side, and then quite a bit of weakness on the other. Now, late stage in a sense that you're starting to get punched through of the original design of the die going through the cap, which I would imagine is probably paper thin at this point. And that's why you could see like Liberty, you could see some parts of the date. It looks to be a 1964, but I could be wrong here. This one selling for $29.01 with 10 bids. So again, very consistent sales off of these cap die deals here. And you guys should know what these are. They are neat. I love having these in my collection. And I have a lot of people that want to buy these. So, pretty cool pieces. Another good one here. Boy, man, this impressive stuff here today. 1959 Lincoln Memorial cent. So what's going on here? We've talked about these quite a bit. This one was struck on a split planchet. All right, so the coin had split right on its edge, like basically in half. It's like splitting an English muffin in half and then throwing it in a toaster. So obviously, you're going to have a much thinner planchet. The original calibrated pressure of the strike will not allow full strike because of how much thinner this coin and this planchet is. So a standard Lincoln cent coin weighs 3.1 grams. So this one weighing nearly half that at 1.61 grams. So just right with those numbers, you know how much thinner this is. Half as thick as normal. This one ended up selling for $21.53 with 13 bids. Again, these show up out there. I have more success finding these in wheat cent bags than I do trying to look through Lincoln cents, like, you know, bank rolls. They're a little bit tougher, and they're thin too, so they're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and they're not going to pack out very well. When they go to tube these up, either at the bank or at the some facility like, I don't know, Brinks or whoever that does armored car services. 1936 Lincoln wheat cent. Big emphasis on laminations here lately. Pretty big presence here this week on the PCMR. Nice large swath of D-lam on the reverse. And I mean, it's great, you know. It's visually stunning. This one was a big sale compared to what I've seen. $59 is what this one ended at. 17 bids. If you wanted a full-on big lot of laminations, this is all 1930s Lincoln wheat cents. 20 of them to be exact, and they all have laminations. Each one individually, you know, not wild or crazy, you know, but you know, there might be some resale kind of applications here. I'd say you probably sell these for about $10-15 a piece, you know. As so long as they have, you know, some sort of like quality to them where they're resellable. If they're junky and, you know, damaged or anything like that, they're not going to have a really good opportunity to sell for any meaningful profit. So here are the reverses of the coins. There's a few of them there, like the top row, fifth coin over from the left. You can see a nice chip of lamination on there that's still attached to the coin, but outside of that, not the most impressive lot, and that's why it was sold as a lot for $107.71 with 12 bids, which is $5 per coin. So, yeah, I would say, you know, because they are 1930s, a little bit tougher decade, you could list these for $12.99 shipped, and that'll give you a 2x profit, but it'll take a while to sell these. There's another nice lamination, 1921 Lincoln cent there. You can see it actually on both sides. It's a very crackling, flaky looking coin if I ever saw one. This one ended up getting sold and picked up for $32, and that was a buy it now hit. Here's another lot from Cayman here. This time we have a lot of 30 1920s lamination errors on there. I mean, you could spend a little time if you wanted to pause the video and just look at each coin individually. This one I would say more impressive than the 1930s we just looked at. But that's my opinion. I just feel like there's probably more to deal with here on this particular lot. Selling for $118.40. There's a quick look at the reverse. A couple delamination areas on there. Again, most of the good stuff is on the obverse. And not to mention, there's a few woodies in this particular lot, which also helps out for resale. $118.40, a much better deal. What is that, $3 a coin at the end of the day? 14 bids on this one. First piece of paper coming in the way of a $1969 bill. So we don't do the video of fancy serial numbers anymore, like realized sales. Now, even though we don't do it, the market is still quite robust. There's still a lot of these notes that are selling really well on eBay. This one I wanted to highlight because I love 7s and 8s in a serial number situation. This is what they call a super radar. So you have bookends that are the same number, and then the middle 6 numbers are the same one all in a row. All right, so this one is 0s and 8s, and you have 6 8s in the middle right there. Beautiful note, by the way. This thing is uncirculated, considering that it's 50 years old plus. This one right here is selling for $156.90. Again, the market is just really, really good on fancy serial numbers at this moment. Getting back to more Cayman coin love here. 1864 Indian head cents. This one right here, pretty rough. It's got, some rust and all, it looks environmental, like it's been sitting in the ground for a little bit. But what is noticeable is that nice size cut die break on the reverse right on top of the shield. All right, you should always be flipping these coins over to look for those cuds and things like that, because they will sneak up on you. This one right here is selling for $37 with 12 bids this time. One of my favorites here, 1960D Lincoln Memorial Cent. This is a great repunch mint mark. This one has been trending upwards lately. It's been a cheap variety for the longest time because it is a common variety to look for. People have been buying these for $10-20. You could go back maybe 2 years and they were quite affordable. For whatever reason, they're selling for quite a bit more. The prices and the valuations on these have been inching upwards, and then we're seeing like a wave of these pop off here in the last 6 months, and the prices are just, you could see the movement in the market for this. This one is the FS502, RPM number 1. Very impressive repunch mint mark. I would say by strength alone, it's top 5, in my opinion. This one right here is selling for $43 with 11 bids. So that is a fantastic sale. Couple back-to-back 1983 doubled die reverses. This is the FS801. So this one right here was actually in a plastic capital holder. All right, and that's why the pictures aren't that great. They're a little dark. They got some reflection to it. You can see the scratches on the holder. But when we look at the doubling, even on a very dark reverse photo, you can see it quite well. In 1 cent, United States of America, E pluribus unum. You can even see the base of the Lincoln Monument. That is doubled as well. These things quite popular. Prices shot up last year, and they've held steady since. $243.80, which seems like a lot of money considering that it's not like a mid-state red, and that's okay. This is just a really clean example, and very popular coin by today's standards. And here's another one here, another FS801. However, unfortunately, this one has damage on the obverse. This one has the dreaded circle of death. This coin was, I would imagine, a roll ender. So there was definitely, during the pack out process of these in rolls, the little thumb finger thing made contact with the surface of that outer coin as it was developing the crimp to hold all the coins in that roll. $139.50. is a sale not to balk at, for sure. 24 bids on this one. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a shocker, even with the damage. $1974 bill. A lot of wrinkling going on here. This is what we call gutter folds. So the subject sheet had a bunch of like little, wrinkles all throughout the thing. And then it was all printed over. So the wrinkles never got stretched out here. Here's the reverse. The seller didn't do a full reverse image, but cut it half an hour. I don't know why. But I put both sides on here. But yeah, I mean, the more gutters on a note, the more that they're worth, because it adds to the visuals of it, the eye appeal. And collectors like that. Now, even though this one is pretty rough looking, it's been used, in buying a lot of things over time. This one right here ended up selling for a pretty good price, $122.24, 33 bids on this one. Let's see, and this is one that we haven't seen in quite a while. I'm glad to be able to talk about this one because it's cool, but the mint error on this is in a very sneaky spot. A lot of people do miss out on these. It's on a 2020 Lincoln Shield set, and this one has a cut die break right there in Lincoln's jacket, as you can tell right there, and it's like it's raised right off the surface quite a fair amount. So this one getting a little bit more attention. I know some of the bigger Lincoln Cent error folks that deal in like modern. They've been looking at these. They've been picking them up as they go. Doing very well here. $32.99 with a couple of bids. Here's another cut die break. Very clean one. I haven't seen one of these in a while. 1984 Lincoln Memorial Cent. You can see the cut die break at the base of Lincoln's bust. So a piece of the die had cracked, fallen out, and there's essentially an empty cavity in the die. So when it's striking the coins, all of that metal flow as a result of the pressure of that strike will creep into that empty cavity on the die, creating what you're seeing here. $35 is what this one sold for. Again, very strong prices. And that's to be expected because they're cuds. Cuds are king. I know you guys are tired of hearing that, but I couldn't reinforce it anymore. 1999 Lincoln Memorial Set. Some good stuff happening here. Coin, Broadstrike, number one. Number two, there's a pretty big cratering indent, along with some brockage, all right, which means that there were two coins overlapping each other, offset, and then struck. So that's what happened there. So there is essentially somewhere out in the world another coin that fits this one like a lock and key. Whether it exists or if it got pulled out during the quality control process and destroyed remains to be seen, but it's pretty cool to imagine that there could be another piece that fits this one here. $54.79 on the sale. Haven't seen one of these in a while. Boy, it's good to revisit one of these. And just to let you know that these do exist out there. This one had floated around, for a while in piggy banks and pockets and cash registers. And now it's finally retired from active service because it's a mint error. 1967 Cud die break Lincoln Memorial. You can see it over the words "In God" right there on the obverse. This one's selling for $51.98 with 11 bids, and I believe this is the only known Cud for this date. So if you did find one of these that's in a different position or on the reverse, that might be a new discovery. Check out the website cudsoncoins.com, and you can find and get a general idea of what's out there and what you can find. Bicentennial coins getting a resurgence of love, with the semi-quincentennial event next year, and rightfully so. A lot of people are nostalgic for these. 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy that struck off center. Yeah, pretty basic, This one's selling for $84.80 with 11 bids. Any bicentennial coin, the quarter especially, with a mint error that's quite like this, will jack up the price to crazy levels. So just understand that there's just something about these coins with the dual dates and the special design that people love, and the mint error just kind of exacerbates the love affair for these. We can't do a PCMR without talking about another Wounded Eagle, FS901. Again, can only be found on a 2000 P minted Sacagawea dollar. All right, so this one here has the raised die gouges that's going right through the eagle's breast feather area and into the wing. So there was one long die gouge and then a little bit smaller one that's right next to it. Still to this day, very popular find, very desirable. This one right here in a nice high grade mint state condition type of coin. Selling for $105.99. There you go. I told you these things are pricey. We saw that Lincoln cent earlier. This one is crazier. We don't know what the date is on this Jefferson nickel, but it was struck on a split planchet. Yes. Yeah, you heard that right. I don't know what the weight is of this one, but yeah, it's going to be at least half, if not more than, whatever it was to begin with. But yeah, you could see the split edge on the reverse, or the split side on that reverse with all the striations there. Man, these things are crazy. It's hard to believe that these things, made it out into circulation. There's a difference. That's what I love about this particular one sale here, is that they showed a regular thickness nickel and then this one. Look how it's like less than half or whatever. I don't know. This thing is absolutely nuts. This one's selling for $129.50. It was a buy it now hit. And boy, did this thing leave the market at like light speed. This thing dropped off the face of the earth in moments. And the last coin to talk about, yes, these do circulate. Someone had said, these were found out very early on. They took a whole bunch of them off the market. That's why there's so many mid-state versions of this. I'm like, no, dude, these circulate. These the same way that the 96W dimes, people have found those out in circulation, even though they were in mid sets. This one was never in a mid set, though. These were produced specifically for circulation. 1982 is the date. These were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, but you wouldn't know that because it doesn't have a mint mark, and they're supposed to have a mint mark. So much like some of the famous missing mint mark proof coins that we've talked about in the past, the one lone singular business strike coin where they accidentally left the mint mark off the working die is this one right here. And not to mention, this is what they call the strong variant, where the strike is well struck on this one. But yeah, there's supposed to be a little P mint mark. If you look at any other 1982 Roosevelt dime, it's either going to have a D or a P, and that's normal. The one without the mint mark, not normal, and more expensive. Collectors want these. $162.30 with 19 bids. Crazy amounts of money. Lots of great stuff here on this edition of the PCMR. The information in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please keep that in mind. Collect, grade your coins responsibly. And that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this one. Hopefully this video gave you a little inspiration to go out there and hunt, and cherry something really nice for either your collection or to resell. All right, that's what we do. We're hunters and gatherers, if you know what I mean. Thank you guys again for tuning in. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you again for all the support and views. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the stuff for today. Come check us out on Whatnot. We'll be back on tomorrow on Friday with a nice light show. If you guys like nice and light and feathery, that's what we have tomorrow on Whatnot. So you guys take care. Have a good one and have a great weekend too if I don't see you. Take care.